Good morning. I have the fan on because it's a little hot in here and my hair is giving me the model look. Happy Veterans Day to everyone. If you have family who have served, or if you have served, or you're married to someone who's served, thank you, thank you, thank you for your service. Let's pray that none of these sacrifices will have been made in vain. Lots to talk about today. See you on the other side. Happy Tuesday. It is the 11th of November. It is Armistice Day, Veterans Day, whatever you like to call it. It is a celebration very specifically of the end of World War I in 1938. This is an important day, and especially right now, it's really important because who were we fighting against in World War I? The fascists. I know. You all know that. Today, we're going to talk mostly about books because I've done some homework and I also had about 3 days of just knitting and reading because it hit me that Christmas is very soon and I don't have my Christmas knitting done. And then I realized, well, most of the people I would think to knit socks for really wouldn't be that excited about socks. So I stopped panicking. Nevertheless, I did a lot of reading and a lot of knitting. So to get you up to date, the blue pair that I showed you last week, I'm just starting the foot on sock number 2, so that should be done in a couple of days. And I knit my sister's Christmas sock, Westerly Anne, Avert Your Eyes. It's got moons and stars on it. I know. This is that wonderful cashmere yarn that is so soft. And what's really fun about this sock, and I realize it's sort of when you start using scraps up for your knitting, you have genealogical things. So this yarn is from Julia's sock. This yarn is from Lonnie's sock, who is Westerly's little sister. And this is Westerly's yarn. So the next person who gets some of this yarn, because there will be some left over, will have part of Westerly's sock. So it's this lovely kind of genealogical sock experiment. Anyway, that is sock number 1. I'm this far on sock number 2. I've done the color work and I'm just finishing up the leg. We're in good shape here. With all that knitting came a whole lot of reading. So let me catch you up with what I finished, because I had a lot of books cooking and then I finished a whole lot of books and then I finished some more. Okay, so we're going to talk books today. We're going to talk about the books I finished, the books I'm reading, and I'm going to give you some Christmas winter ideas that you could probably get at the library. Because I know that talking about new releases, that is a financial situation for a lot of people. And unless you're really Johnny on the spot, you're not going to get it at the library, at least for a while. I told you last week I started the first book in a mystery series called A Murder on the Scottish Highlands by D. MacDonald. I finished that. I read it in 2.5 days. Really fun, really just a good first book to start a series. And so immediately upon finishing it, I started the second one. And remember I told you last week there are 4 books in the series? That is true. But the third book was only published 5 minutes ago. And the fourth book won't be done until next year. So I'm going to wait to read books 3 and 4 next year. But they were great. And I highly recommend this author. I'm going to talk more about D. MacDonald when I get to the books I am reading. I finished The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. Second reread. No, I guess it's a first reread. Second read. Just as incredible as I remembered. And mercifully, I didn't remember. You know how it is when you read a lot of books and you don't really retain all the things. I mean, yes, if I picked up a book that I'd read probably in January, I sort of would have remembered what it was going on. But this is a book I read 12 years ago, and a whole lot of water has gone under the bridge since then. So every new chapter was a surprise. And yeah, this is one that probably in another 5 or 6 years, when I've forgotten what it's about, I will reread it again. And it was because it's just a fantastic book. And also, Once Upon a River is her other book. It is just as good, different flavor, but just as good. And I'll probably be rereading that in the spring if I think about it and remember. Anyway, I read a book I forgot to mention it last week. I mean, that's how impactful this book was. It's called The Sicilian Inheritance. It's a new release by Joe Piazza. And as you can gather from the title, it takes place in Sicily and it involves an inheritance. It's okay. It's not a great book. It's okay. I gave it 3.5 stars, a solid B minus, maybe a B on a good day. It had mafioso thing. It's a dual timeline thing, and it just didn't really land as appropriately and as wonderfully as I had hoped. Anyway, that's that. Then I was done with all these books that I read, and they were really great. And so I went down the D. McDonald rabbit hole, and she's got a whole nother series of murder mysteries, and I think there are 8 in this, and it's done, so I'm going to read those. The series is the Kate Palmer Mysteries, and this one is called A Body in the Village Hall. So, a woman and her sister move into the village in Cornwall, which is adorable, and murders ensue and detectiving ensues, and it's fun. It's a fun little book. So that is a mystery series that I'm going to be reading. It's hard to just change horses in the middle of the stream kind of and get used to a new character, but so far I am enjoying it. How many of you watch Great British Bake Off? Do you remember a couple of years ago when Noel's partner in crime was Sandy? Remember the cute little blonde lady, short and adorable, Sandy Tosvig? She's Danish. She's adorable. She's funny. And she writes novels. So I am reading her latest novel right now. It's called Friends of Dorothy. It's cute. It's funny. And I hate to say this, and I may change. I reserve the right to retract this next week when I finish this. It almost feels like it's trying a little too hard. I'm sorry. I may change my mind. It's just that so much hilarity is happening that it just feels a little forced. I may change my mind. I'm going to still keep listening. By the way, Sandy reads the book. She's adorable. I love her. Dorothy is a woman who has sold her home to two women, and they are moving in, but Dorothy is not moving out. Got the picture? Yeah. Okay. And then I decided to do something really different. I needed a change in genre, if you will. Do you know the name Olivia Blake? Olivia Blake? I don't know how she says her name. I've read a couple of her books, but I pick up her latest one, which is called Girl Dinner. We're going to call this horror light. Is that a thing? Cozy horror? It's still horrific, but it's presented in such an interesting way. So we're on campus at a university. We have 2 basic storylines kind of going on at the same time. We have a professor, a woman who's teaching, and we see that also a younger woman who is a student. So the teacher is married, has a young child, and is balancing life with her career and her baby and her husband. And then the sorority woman is this young, beautiful Black woman who's trying to get into the house, which is the premier sorority on campus, because all of the women who join the sorority are fabulously beautiful, healthy, successful, da 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 da. And of course, there's a dark, sinister secret to all this. Again, not what I usually read, but it somehow this is kind of, it's kind of hitting this. I don't know what it's hitting. It's hitting my happy place because it's fun and it is encapsulating all of the rage I feel towards the patriarchy in a really horrific way. How does that sound? Super fun. I will let you know next week what is going on with that. Anyway, that's the reading situation. But we talked last week a little bit about seasonal reading and how we like reading summery books in the summertime and we like reading wintry books in the wintertime. So one of the things that winter does for me is it makes me in the mood for the classics. And by classics, I mean those moory, darky, sinistery ones that we grew up with. Rebecca, Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre. I don't know. There's something about winter that makes me crave those kinds of novels. And of course, all of these have been made into movies. Almost all of them have had books written based on that. I would guess you would call that fan fiction, theoretically retelling. Anyway, there I know that for Rebecca there are prequels and sequels, and I know, and the same with Wuthering Heights, I believe. I don't know about Jane Eyre. Probably Jane Eyre, because everything that's been done once has been done again and again. So I was just thinking about these also in kind of a different way. The Hobbit is a very wintry, cozy kind of thing. I mean, and frankly, if you're going to go that way, we can go with the Snow People in Game of Thrones. That's also feels wintry because winter is coming. And then I went and I did a little bit of a deep dive because I know it's really easy to find Christmas romance books, right? We've seen the movies, we know the plots by heart, we know exactly what is going to happen. I thought, no, no, no. Yes, we will be reading Christmas romance books, but let's talk about some books that aren't romancy but capture the feeling of Christmas or winter. And of course, Winter Solstice by Rosamund Pilcher is number one on that list in terms of my favorite. I will begin rereading it a week before Christmas. How about some other ones? So I wrote down some titles that should be accessible in the library because they're older. And I specifically searched in that parameter. So, The Christmas Train. The Christmas Train by David Baldacci. That was published in 2002. Let me tell you what the synopsis says. This one is sentimental, but not a romance novel. It's more about humanity, forgiveness, and the quirky cross-section of travelers snowed in on a train. That sounds Christmassy. I've not read that, so I can't tell you if it's good, but David Baldacci is, he's a multi-million dollar novelist. So I'm sure that's 1994, our next book, and you may have read this, Snow Falling on Cedars by David Gutterson. This is set on a snowy island in Washington State, and it's a courtroom drama, and it blends atmosphere, memory, and post-war prejudice. There's longing in the story, but it's not a romance. So, cool. I have not read that one. When I looked it up, it said a lot of people were reading this in the early 90s. I was reading in the early 90s. I was reading Bodice Rippers. Winter's Tale by Mark Halperin. Winter's Tale by Mark Halperin, 1983. New York City. I mean, what is more Christmas than New York City, right? It's filled with snow and wonder and moral beauty. It's romantic in tone, but not about romance. It's more about faith, magic, and belonging. Oh, that sounds really fun. I might read that too. Okay, the next book is a book I have read, and it's a young adult book, but this is the answer to Harry Potter and why, if we're mad at J.K. Rowling, and who isn't, Susan Cooper's The Dark is Rising series was my introduction to fantasy series. It is fantastic. And The Dark is Rising is a very wintry piece. This is fantasy, young adult, great. If you have not read this is a great series to read if you like the magical. Yeah. A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr, published in 1980. A quiet English village post-World War I, healing, art, reflection. This is going on the list. I'm reading this one. And one that was published in 2010, still think it's library available, Major Pettigrew's Last Stand by Helen Simonson. This is just a really fun book. It's about dignity, culture, aging gracefully, which we all attempt to do and are doing. And then another book that I have read I read it many years ago, and it is The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. And if you've never read anything by her, please do yourself a delightful favor and read her books. One of her nonfiction novel, Dance of the Dissident Daughter, is one of the most important books I read at a very important turning point in my life when I left mainstream religion and was trying to find my footing in a world where I didn't belong to a church, but I had a spiritual foundation. Great book. Secret Life of Bees, also fantastic. I know there's a movie. Read the book. It's so good. So these are my Christmassy, wintry recommendations. I'm feeling as of course it's going to be 85 degrees today in Southern California. It's finally going to get a little cooler tomorrow, but this is just ridiculous what we have to go through, right? Climate change, so fun. Anyway, we've come to the end of what I don't know, but we've come to the end of the Old Lady podcast, and we're still old. In fact, we're older now than when we started. And as always, my prayer for you is that your life is sweet and gentle, and that people are friendly, and is no drama or weirdness in your life, but that you can find a place emotionally, physically, spiritually, where you feel grounded and connected to all the love there is in this world. And I'm sending you mine. Thank you for watching. May your lives be sweet and soft. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.